Good morning, and just add my thanks and welcome to coming here today. I'm going to cover a few things about what the Big Lottery Fund's doing in this particular area. Really a little bit about BIG, what we've supported so far in the investment market, our reasons why we think it's important to be there, and then hopefully some of our priorities and what we might be doing in the future that you can look to access. Just a little bit about BIG. We're a lottery distributor. Our main focus up until this point in time has been really traditional grants to the voluntary community sector. We receive quite a lot of applications, we make a fair few awards, and we spend a reasonable amount of money each year. We're probably talking around about £500 million each financial year in England to distribute. And certainly we're seeing the social investment market as quite key to using up some of that money now going forward. I'm probably going to kind of skip over this section a little bit, but just want to kind of add, I suppose, a little bit of context to how we got into this market and what it means to us. We have traditionally worked very much in the kind of voluntary community sector, very much traditional grant making, and I suppose what kind of happened was we got involved with a project that turned into the world's first social impact bond, Peterborough SIB, which most people have kind of heard about now. And really the focus was on trying to take our real focus about helping communities and those most in need, but moving away from very kind of piecemeal and direct impact sort of service into trying to kind of move into something where we felt we could use an investment model to still kind of facilitate more access to funding. So just to briefly kind of run over the Brian story. Brian had been kind of homeless for a good proportion of his life. He was quite elderly. He was an alcoholic. He had various court orders preventing him drinking in public, which was difficult because obviously he was homeless. He had health conditions. He had no access to social care. And although we could fund individual projects and various kind of agencies or organisations could pick off one of those particular aspects of his need, we felt that there really wasn't something that was looking at how we tackle that overall. So one service came into existence which really looked at trying to take the whole approach to Brian's issues as a way of trying to capitalise on the need without really kind of each person just kind of handing their bit over to somebody else and crossing it over. So the result has been that one service was funded through the Peterborough SIB, and we've seen a dramatic impact on Brian and other users of the services cohesion in terms of their going forwards, in terms of their addressing particular needs, and really, it has made a kind of substantial difference. And this is the kind of model that was used to kind of target that particular service. The SIB developed by Social Finance and put into practice in Peterborough. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but a colleague of mine, funding manager, who knows about this is also in the room, so we will be able to answer questions, as I'm sure a lot of people around the room can do as well. I suppose what I really wanted to focus on was a little bit about what we've done next, and then what we're going to do in the future. So following the Peterborough SIB and an award to Social Finance to help support the development of the SIB market, we also set up a fund called Next Steps. And the aim of this was really around testing out the social investment market and what products were out there and how people might be able to make use of them from the VCSE sector. It's closed to applications at the moment, but we've made 12 awards to date, and we'd like to make a few more in the coming years. But two examples of where I think we've made good step into this particular market: the Golden Lane Housing and Cool to Care. Golden Lane Housing was to develop a property fund to help house people with special needs. And Call to Care is around mini social impact bonds, around the relationship between parents and carers and children with disabilities. And again, both of those are starting to kind of test new ways of working, new ways of using the investment model, and also around co-commissioning and outcomes payments. And that's partly, I think, because we've heard from other organisations around where they're in the particular market, and we felt that we could fund these two areas which would help organisations access funding, either to move on to other sources of funding, or certainly to fill gaps that we'd identified in the market. Investment Readiness and Development Fund is really about supporting, as I said, VCSE organisations on their investment journey. It's informed very much by some research that we commissioned Clearly So to do for us. We're likely to open our doors to applications early next year, and the fund is likely to be open for about 3 years. At the moment, it's likely to be a fund size of around about £10 million. The aim would be very much about sustainability, capacity, scaling up of VCSE organisations. And we've put the ceiling at organisations looking to seek around about £500,000 worth of investment as a maximum. And that's very much so that we fit in and kind of match into the funding that the Investment Readiness Contract Fund has, which is obviously over £500,000. So again, it's trying to kind of work with other providers and other funders in this area, so there's a bit more of a kind of continuum and less crossover and mixing, and making it more difficult for organisations to understand where people are. We also recognise that to a lot of organisations, volunteers, community sector organisations, the whole investment readiness stuff is still going to be a bit of a challenge. And so we're also likely to commission some funding around an education and some analytical tools to help organisations understand how these models or how this funding might help them to access things. And again, really want to kind of stress the point that we're not seeing this as a replacement to our grant funding. We're really seeing this as opening up new avenues of funding to release our grant money as well as other funders' grant money to target organisations that Nick was referring to that don't really see social investment as a way forward and isn't really suitable for the movement they did. The co-commissioning fund, again, is likely to launch early next year. We're kind of likely to work with another provider to deliver this, although we are also consulting with the Cabinet Office, who are looking at an outcomes fund at this point in time as well. Again, our aims are likely to be different, but we're keen to make sure that we don't suddenly get two co-commissioning funds launched within a short period of time from two providers, and it just confuses people about where they wish to apply. So, as much as possible, we're looking to see whether we can make the process as simple as possible, but obviously both funds will have their own goals around this. The size of the fund at the moment is earmarked around 40 million, and again open to applications for around a three-year period. As I said, we are working with the Cabinet Office, who are also looking at the co-commissioning fund, which you might hear about later on this afternoon, and again, just really trying to align the criteria around those. The other thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of where we're running something on behalf of OCS is the Social Incubator Fund. And again, it's part of the Cabinet Office's overall investment readiness initiative. And again, this is really looking at the provision of grants and capital to organisations who are going to help provide people and get people ready for the investment market. That's open at the moment, and again, my colleague will be able to kind of run through any details you might have on that. So really just to, I suppose, to indicate our website and an email, we have an email for the social investment of Big Lottery Fund, which isn't quite as jazzy as the ready to invest email address. But if there are specific questions that you have, or if you are developing particular models of social investment and social investment vehicles that you think are really interesting, again, we're really keen to hear about those. Because we're really interested in what's going on in the market. We're interested in how we can perhaps replicate or share that learning across a wider set. And then in terms of our websites, as I say, we are starting to release information about the funding that we're putting out, and hopefully that will release the two funds, and you can access the information at that point in time. So thank you.